Everything that we've done thus far with templates has centered around just cloning them within the vSphere inventory. That's how we used to do it, but as of vSphere 6, we introduced something called content libraries. Content libraries allow us to create a library on our vCentre instance that contains not just virtual machine templates, but ISO files and a few other assets that we might use on other virtual machines. One of the benefits of doing so is that we can publish those content libraries, and other vCentre instances in our wider network can synchronize it or access files from it. For example, you've got a data center in your main office where your core network is, and you have a content library there, but you also have smaller clusters in larger branch offices, and you want to be able to use the templates that you are storing on your core data center to virtual machines that are in the remote sites. And you can do that through content libraries. So let's take a look at that process. So from the menu, we can go to content libraries and we can say create. So I'm just going to call this content library 1. Then we say where it is. So is this one that is on our server, or are we subscribing to a content library that is on another server? We're of course creating one on here. We can enable publishing, which allows other vSphere instances in our network to connect to this content library, and we can enable a password on there to do so as well, or we can make it publicly accessible as long as you can get to the vCentre through any appropriate firewall rules. Where are we going to store the contents of this library? I'm going to put this on Datastore 1 and we'll finish. So now when we look into that, we can see templates. We've got virtual machine templates and OVF and OVA templates. And we can see other types there, such as ISO files. So let's import an item into this. So we're going to upload our own cloud virtual machine appliance template, import, and that will now appear. We can also upload an ISO file, so same process. Select upload files. I'll just select my VCSA ISO. You wouldn't normally upload your VCSA ISO to your host because of course you would mount it on Windows and run the installer from Windows or Mac if you are using a Mac, as we saw at the beginning of the getting started course when we created the vCentre appliance. So that will now upload and will appear in the other types section. And of course, when we're ready to deploy a virtual machine, we can go into the library, right click and say new VM from this template. The other thing we can do back in the hosts and clusters view, we can clone as template to library, and we can go to one of our existing templates and we can clone it to the library there. We can also deploy a virtual machine from a library template directly from the hosts and clusters or VMs and templates view. So right click, new virtual machine. We have the option there to deploy from template. We can select from the content library. We have our template in our content library, or we can select the template that is in the inventory. And from there on in, it's the same process as deploying any other virtual machine.